Hi everyone. Now let's try understanding how we can provision networks, virtual networks using Terraform. Now we have two networks here. One is VNet C India and one is VNet Admin C India. Now this VNet C India is a virtual network which has three subnets: front end, business logic subnet, and a database. The respective workloads will be there in that subnets. And similarly, we to perform administration activities, we have a separate virtual network, and there are machines which will be hosted, and we can also have subnets for any specific development, all that. Now, this machines in admin have to connect to front end or a business logic or database servers based on the need and the troubleshooting and everything. Now, for that, this virtual network has to be paired with this network, and to perform that virtual network peering, we're going to do that entire thing on Terraform. So first we'll provision networks using Terraform, and then we will do a VNet peering in the next video. So let me go and create a text file, and I will try to go to Google, and I'll ask Terraform Azure Virtual Network, and I can find this. Before I do this, I'll also go for Azure RM because I want the main.tf. Now this is the one which we use it. So I'll copy this from registry.io, the provider, and here I'll mention the provider name, which is Azure RM, and here I'm going to mention the subscription ID. And the subscription ID is nothing but my subscription ID. So I'll go here and I'll copy this subscription ID, and I'll use a resource group, Azure RM resource group, and I'll mention this as Terra admin, and the resource group name is admin Archie, and this resource group will be there in Central India, and that is because the virtual network should be having a resource group, right? And similarly, I'm going to create for one virtual network VNet C India. I'm going to use an resource group which is the same one, but here I have to name it to Terra app, and I'll mention that app RG, and here admin RG, and C India. Or similarly, app hyphen RG, C India hyphen RG, Central India. And this is how we'll do this. And let's see whether this is working or not. So I'm going to go here and create a folder, mention network, and this comes under pain.tf. And let me go back to this. I'll copy the address, sorry, the folder path. And first thing which I have to do is I've logged in using CLI, using AZ login, and I can actually see that this is the account name and everything. So that is the one we have to do it. Then I'm going to go into this folder, and here I'm going to do Terraform init. So first command which you do is Terraform init, which is initialize. So while you initialize, it is going to download the Azure RM version. Now if you see, it is going to download the Azure RM version which is 3.00, and it is also going to check whether this respective connection is there to the subscription ID or not. So if you are not been logged in, it would the Terraform unit will be failing. Now let me do Terraform plan, and it will give me what are the things which will be going to be created because of the script. And if you see here, it should create two resource groups. One is app-c India RG, and one is admin-c India RG. And we have two resource groups which will be get created. Okay, so one has been done. Now we'll create one more text file. Because I want to segregate one with the networks and one related to this resource groups, and anything related to peering will be in a different text file and everything. So how do I write for the network? If you see, I just opened in the previous one while searching the virtual network, and we are able to see into the terraform.registry.io in the previous search. This is the one which I opened. So if you go with registry.terraform.io, they give the pre-built templates, but this is an example version itself. Now you have to modify according to your needs and everything. So I'm going to copy this resource group at this point of time, and I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to mention one virtual network for Terra admin, and the admin name is vnet-admin c India. And if I see, so this VNet should be created in this resource group, and similarly in that location. So this is the referencing variable Azure RM resource group dot Terra admin name and location is what is being taken while the virtual network is getting created. And I don't need DNS servers at this point of time, and I'm going to leave this address space as it is. And we can either define when we go and see here the Azure RM virtual network, we can see that it currently Azure Terraform supports a standalone subnet, or it allows you to write define subnets between the inline. So this is the inline way of writing it, or you can go for the standalone one. So how do you do that? Subnet, and here are the resources for that. Now this is the way we can even give a standalone way, and I'm gonna copy this and I'm going to paste it even here. And before that, let me remove this, and let me remove the tagging. Now I'm going to mention this subnet belongs to this virtual network. So I'm going to use this admin hyphen, and I'm going to mention the subnet name as uh, subnet 1, or we can actually mention subnet admin, the name of the subnet, and the subnet name is admin, and it should belongs to the resource group of Terra admin dot name, and the virtual network is even the Terra admin. So I have to mention here which this subnet should be created in which virtual network. Now if you see, the reference is coming as Azure RM virtual network Terra admin dot name, and the address prefix here is 10.0.0/24, and we don't need a delegation at this point of time. The reason why we prefer a standalone resources than within the inline, because they provide an extra functionalities and all that wide functionalities. At this point of time, we don't need delegation. So to a subnet, why do we delegate? So that we need a specific resources to be allowed to be executed in that. So when I say services, Azure PaaS offerings are the ones which will be so in that subnet, you're saying that this specific specific services will be provisioned in that PaaS offerings. And as virtual this, as we are talking about virtual machines, they don't need a specific segregation at this point of time. So I'm not touching that. I'm deleted that. Now this is going to create only one virtual network. So let's test it whether we are able to create one virtual network or not. Network.tf, and I'm creating all files. Click on save, and I'll clear this, and I'm going to do a Terraform plan. And it will look at all the TF files, so in that particular folder path, and we see that there is main.tf and network.tf, and already the initialization has happened, and uh, so it is going to just show us that it will create two resource groups and two virtual networks, and this should be under this yeah, this. So we have to see one virtual network right now. We have two resource groups and one virtual network and subnetwork. And if you look at it, the address space is this, and the virtual network name is VNet admin C India, and the subnet name is admin, and that is coming under the admin C India Archie. So this is appropriate way, and this subnet is actually belongs to virtual network VNet admin C India. So now similarly, the way I created this, and let me create the virtual network for C India. How will I do that? I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here, the same format, but here I have to mention it app. I have to reference, just change the reference, otherwise Terraform will get confused. Why are you referencing with the same names and everything? Whom should I call? This one or this one? So we should actually change the referencing here names. So this is Terra app, and I'm going to say app, Vinet app, C India, and the application is the resource group is also different. So I'm going to have to mention here Terra app. It should be this virtual network should be created in this app hyphen C India Archie. And once this is done, so when we want to do peering, when we want to perform peering, we have to remember that the address space should not be overlapped. And now if you see here, it is started with 10.0.0/16. So this one should start with 1.0/16. And otherwise, we can create virtual networks, but they can't be peered. Now, one what that we have done, we can create a subnet here. The subnet name should be app hyphen app hyphen subnet. The subnet name is front end. So I'm going to here mention front end, uh, and that this it should belongs to a resource group called terra hyphen ifrg reference, and even the virtual network where we are trying to create, this one is terra hyphen apps, and this is good to go. And here I have to ensure that the subnet address prefix is also been changed. So this is for front end, but if you see, we have front end app business logic database. But before that, let me see, I always love to validate whether if there is any syntax issue or not. So in terms of syntax, there is no issue. Then I'll do a Terraform plan to understand if there is any runtime errors. Majority of the runtime errors will be pointed out in Terraform plan, but still after we do Terraform apply, we might encounter errors, because that might be because during the API calls which were being made, we can get some errors, and I didn't save it, so that's the reason why it's still showing 4. And if I do Terraform plan, it should be showing me two virtual networks, three subnets, or sorry, two virtual networks and two subnets and two resource groups. Let's wait and see 6. So if you see here, two resource groups, one subnet for admin, one subnet for app, and one is a virtual network, one is a virtual network. You see VNet hyphen app and VNet hyphen C India Archie. And the resource groups, the subnets which we are seeing is app hyphen C India Archie and admin hyphen C India Archie. uh, and the name is admin and front end. This belongs to vnet hyphen app, the front end, and the admin as belongs to vnet hyphen admin c India. So this is all good to go, but still, as per the architecture, we need to have developed these two subnets too. So let me go and create two more subnets. One here with backend. I'm going to copy this, and And here I'm going to mention the resource group itself is terra-app rg, so there's no change to it. The virtual network is also belongs to virtual network terra app dot name, and there is no change. Subnet which has to be changed is o, and now it is 1.0, and here similarly it is 2.0. And this is not a front end one, this is a database. And I'm going to copy this here, the subnet database, and there is no change to this. Now if I go and create Terraform, I do a Terraform plan, I should be seeing 8 resources, 3 subnets in one virtual network, and one, if you see the diagram, 3 subnets in one virtual network and one subnet in the app India. So if we go and see this, right now we see A to add, and in that subnets, if we see, one is with app hyphen vnet hyphen app and vnet hyphen app and vnet hyphen app. The other one is vnet hyphen admin. So subnets are accordingly created. So that is good. So we can go and provision this virtual networks. So let's go and do this. How will you do that? So I'll clear and we'll perform Terraform apply, and we'll mention auto approve. So in case when the any errors are being faced while we are sending API calls to the Azure, so all that will be receiving. If there are any errors, that will be encountering it here while we are provisioning. So Terraform plan is to provide us what are the things which will be created, but apply is like you go and deploy it, whatever we mentioned. So it is first creating the resource groups. It created 2 resource groups. So let's go and check resource groups here. We have 2 resource groups. One is, I refresh it. Yeah, we have admin RG and we have app hyphen C India RG. Now, once that is done, we are creating virtual networks. So if I go into virtual networks, I have 2 apps, right? 2 VNets. VNet one is VNet admin C India and one is VNet apps hyphen C India. Now let me see. The deployment has successfully completed. So I can go into the VNet hyphen apps admin C India and check the subnet. This is having admin subnet and the address space is appropriate. Now similarly, I go into this one. The address space is appropriate 10.1.0.16, and this is having 3 subnets. One is database, backend, and frontend, and one has been created in app-cndrarg, one has been created in admin-cnrg. So in the next video, we'll do a peering, how we will connect 2 VNets, because 2 virtual networks are independent networks, so they can't communicate with each other. Now, when I wanted, as per the architecture, that the machines in this VNet to be going and do troubleshooting or monitoring performance operations and everything, those 2 VNets should be connected, so that we term it as VNet peering. So stay tuned to this playlist, and I'll keep updating more to this, and in the further videos we would see how we can deploy this application gateway, the internal load balancer, and the solutions which we can have through Terraform. Thank you.